everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've acquired a few books over the last few weeks, and these are all kind of weird fiction or strange tales. Some are supernatural, some I found in little free libraries. And in addition to these, I have a few things out from the library, but I think for those ones I'm gonna flip through one, which is the kind of horror of Pulp Art. Here it is on the screen. I think this one's just very beautiful to look at. There are a lot of beautiful photos, and before I commit usually to buying a book of my own that is in a sort of artsy book format, I always like to take the book out from the library first because I want to see if it's worth the investment. These are usually pricier because they're coffee table books, and it's very important to see if it has a nice text to image ratio. And of course it depends on what your angle is, whether you like to collect this for the content or for the pictures. Like, I obviously don't know what everybody else's deal is with these things, but for me personally, I really like to have a good balance. So I really wanted to read this book, and it does have a lot of cool information in it. However, for me, this book, for example, was not worth buying. It takes up a lot of space, but it's so beautiful to flip through. So sometimes I do kind of reason out if something needs to be purchased or not for the long term. But now let's get into the books that I actually got. I might have mentioned a few of these before in different circumstances. So as I mentioned, the library thing, in a video I made maybe last month or 2 months ago, I went to the Toronto Merrill collection of rare science fiction and fantasy. And in that video, I wanted to assess if I want some of those books for myself, if they're worth it. 3 books were worth it. So one of them was the Margaret Brundage art book, which I purchased that very day. But the other 2 were books by William Hope Hodgson, which I thought I had all of the things that he has written, and then I found out I don't. So one of them is called Out of the Storm. This is what it looks like. The one in that library visit video had a hardcover, and it was a little bit different. The one that arrived here is soft cover, but what it has, so it's edited by Sam Moskowitz, who was also editor of the Weird Tales magazine for at least a year, the best year in my opinion, 1974. I have all 4 issues of Weird Tales from that year, but more on that later. And here we have A Tropical Storm, Out of the Storm, The Finding of the Graykin, and then several other stories that I have not seen anywhere else in writing. So I'm really happy to have this now. I am aiming to read all of Hodgson very soon, and I do have something exciting coming on Hodgson in December. It's gonna be a reading thing, but more on that later. So this is the second Hodgson book that I saw at that library that I thought was worth investing in. And this is Once More, edited by Sam Moskowitz. This is its full title, and it says Uncollected Fantasies and Mysteries by William Hope Hodgson. And the cool thing about this one is that, one, it has, again, some really cool stories, some that I haven't seen anywhere else. But this one is copy 137 of 500 limited copies, and it is signed by Moskowitz. Obviously, I'm not going to find a Hodgson signed book, but I'll take a Moskowitz book. I'll take a Moskowitz signature. So really, really excited about this. I am building a weird fiction library. I think that's my collector's niche, if you will. It definitely sort of started with the Weird Tales, but I think right now my 2 niches are anything to do with the sea or nautical horror or nautical things, pirates, kind of the ocean in general. And then the second one is weird fiction. And I am going to give a quick shout out to this account that's both on Instagram and Blue Sky and potentially Twitter as well, called Weird Friction. I follow this guy on all of the platforms, and he has this elaborate collection of weird fiction, and he always shares new pictures and new things, and I find it so cool. And sometimes I accidentally have something that day and then he just happens to post it that same day. It's kind of weird now. But anyway, if you like weird fiction, you might really enjoy his account. So I'll link them all down below because he's pretty cool. Speaking of pirates and ghosts, I do have this book, which is dark fantasy pirates and ghosts short stories. I love this series. I think it's really cool. Unfortunately, it is pretty chunky and hard to carry around, and the writing is relatively small. I do wear glasses when I read, so that helps, but I do want to have a lot of kind of ghost pirate stories in one volume. I read another one recently. I'll link that video somewhere. But this was a new acquisition to put to that collection. Another book I got is Wonder Tales by Lord Dunsany, or Dunsany. I got to the bottom of this. Turns out that the American pronunciation is Dunsany, and then the UK British version is Dunsany. Because sometimes people correct you, and I have heard people mention it both ways. As a Canadian, I often flip-flop between both spellings and pronunciations because I think Canadians kind of use British English in terms of writing, but we have a sort of Americanized accent. It's so strange. Anyway, I think these are some of Dunsany's short stories. I'm fascinated by him in general. I have yet to read most of his prominent works that most people love, and I know that he was a huge influence on the weird fiction genre. So I really want to read some of his stuff. Now, this is a book that was recommended to me a lot, but I never found it, and then it just came up in a little free library. So this is A Voyage to Arcturus by David Lindsay, one of my subscribers who often recommends really great books to me. And he's the one who introduced me to Hodgson in the first place. He recommended this book a while back, and I have not forgotten. So I'm really happy I came across this because now I can read it and hopefully I will love it. I got these two books from the same bookshop, and I really like this edition of books. They're kind of square looking. I think my favorite is also that they're works in translation, and I get to be introduced to new works that I wouldn't regularly read. The only problem with translated works, for me at least, is that often I can't find the right corresponding audio to go along with it, because I really like to use both to immerse myself in the experience. So often I have to kind of go through it a lot slower and take a lot more time. But this one is from Portugal. This is by Jose Eduardo Agualusa, and it's called A Practical Guide to Levitation. My understanding is that this is a collection of short stories and that it's in the vein of both being kind of weird speculative fiction, but also magical realism in the spirit of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So I'm intrigued, I'm curious, and it's pretty short. The second book I got is called The Golden Pot and Other Tales of the Uncanny by E.T.A. Hoffman, translated from the German by Peter Wordsman. And I do have a few more books of his which I got by accident, and they're a little bit rare actually because they're hardcover, and the two translations are very different. So now I have two translations of his uncanny works. I don't know too much about him, but I am fascinated. And if you've read him, please let me know if there's one particular story I should start with, if you think there's something I might love. Yeah, I am intrigued. Now, another thing I should mention is that there is this edition of books that I am starting to be drawn to. So it's called Tales of Mystery and the Supernatural. And the first book I got in this edition is called The Simon If Stories and Other Works by Aleister Crowley. When I got this book, it was strongly recommended by Roy from the channel Roy Reads Anything during the month of October, where he was reading occult detective fiction, and he has this amazing video where he lists all of the occult detectives that he knows, and among them was name dropped, this Aleister Crowley book, and he has this fiction work with Simon If. And when I got this book, I realized that this is a book series, and I looked up if there are others, and there are, and I want most of them. Some I have in different editions, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm not a fan of getting the same book in a bazillion different editions, but I did sleuth a little bit, and I found these two works that definitely got my attention. So one of them is Australian Ghost Stories. There was a TV show that I watched once. I binge watched it like multiple times, called The Glitch. And it's where these corpses come back to life, but they're all from different eras. And one of them was from the beginnings of Australia being colonized, and just seeing all these like ghosts from different time periods in this small village in Australia. Just, I don't know, I found this so cool. And it just brought all of the time periods together in a beautiful way. But I am interested to see how Australian ghosts differ from other stories, because I find that every country has its own angle with its own cultural influence or nature and landscape. So this should be really cool. And this one is The Crimson Blind and Other Stories by H.D. Everett, who is a woman writer of the uncanny and weird. So I am fascinated. I've heard only good things so far about this book. So a review to come, I suppose. Then I got this book, which I've been looking for a while, and then I just came across it one day. So it's called Great Sea Stories, and it has 3 stories in it. One of them is The Cruel Sea by Nicholas Montserrat, then The Ship by C.S. Forester, and then Dive in the Sun by Douglas Riemann. It has a beautiful cover. I'm very excited to read this. I actually have another copy of The Cruel Sea that I got by accident for free, but it's a hardcover and it's that book alone. So that one I think is a World War II short story about, or novella about a ship. I'm fascinated. We'll see. It's a different vibe. I am gathering that these are newer than what I usually read, because most of the ship stories I read are 19th century or before that, ideally 18th century or 17th, but this seems to be 20th century. Okay, so this is Azimoff and science fiction. I really enjoy reading essays or nonfiction on speculative fiction and science fiction in general. I think I've made several videos on this in the past, but I am interested to see what Azimoff says in this book. Azimoff wrote hundreds of books. I don't know how he did it. This man must have been writing constantly. He has autobiographies, he has essays, he has fiction works, nonfiction works, and anything in between. He just spent his entire life just writing. But I really want to hear his thoughts on the sort of philosophy or thinking process when it comes to science fiction. So yeah, I have this. Then I got this book because, well, I don't know much about it. It got my attention because of the cover. It's called Lord Halifax's Ghost Book. And from my minimal research on it is that there was a Lord Halifax in England, I want to say, and people submitted to him real ghost stories. So it's kind of like, here's what happened in our house. This is weird ghost. And they're sort of nonfiction accounts of what ghosts people believe they saw and the story around it, and it's a little bit investigative. It's almost like a hybrid of nonfiction and occult detective fiction. I am so curious as to what this book will be like. I hope it's everything I'm imagining and more. And then the last 2 books, one is a book that I have mentioned. It's just I happened to find it immediately after making that video. So I made a video called Egyptomania. So in that video I said that I'd like to start a new project where I read books to do with Egypt or influenced by Egyptology. And in that video I also mentioned that a lot of the recommended reading came from H. Rider Haggard. And I was not able to find his books anywhere while building up to that video or before that at any time, because I had heard of his name before. And immediately after posting that video, I walked into this secondhand books store that I generally go to because they have a very cute cat named Churchill. And right on the shelf was this book. H. Rider Haggard, King Solomon's Mines, She, and Alan Quatermain. I now have 3 of his works in one, and there it is. And then the second book that I found in the same bookshop was called Ramses, the Son of Light. And this is written by Christian Jack, and he is an Egyptologist. And I love hearing about like Egyptology fiction from actual Egyptologists. So now I have 2 more books to add to that project, and I'm so happy that I found these. So that's it. Those are all of the books that I got. Please let me know if you've read any of these, heard about any of them, and if there are others you think I might really enjoy based on this selection. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in a future video very soon. Bye!